Sam Reeves turned the hydraulic valve in her hand, examining it under bright light. There was a strange wear pattern on the metal surface. Not from normal use. This was neglect. This was poor maintenance. This was murder. Sam lifted her head, looking across the wreckage hangar. There, like a giant puzzle, was an airplane torn into pieces. That plane had fallen from the sky 6 months ago. 9 people had died, 8 young basketball players, 1 coach, 1 pilot, and the federal government had said pilot error. But Sam Reeves was now looking at this small metal piece in her hand, and she knew. The pilot hadn't made a mistake. Someone had killed these people. What city are you watching from today? If this story touches you, please subscribe and help more people see it. Sam Reeves was 34 years old and had been working in forensic science for the last 12 years. She came from the FBI laboratory, used to do DNA analysis, was an expert in digital forensics. But Sam's real passion was mechanical evidence, because according to Sam, metals had a story. How they broke, how they wore down, how they failed, everything said something. You just had to listen. 6 months ago, on a cold February morning, the Northwest State University basketball team was heading to the championship tournament. 8 players, 1 coach, private charter plane, pilot Captain James Harrison, 20 years experience, perfect record. The plane lost control 15 minutes after takeoff. The pilot declared an emergency, but couldn't land. The plane crashed into an empty field. Everyone died. The NTSB National Transportation Safety Board conducted a crash investigation. It lasted 4 months. Result: pilot error. Captain Harrison lost altitude control, failed to take corrective action, plane crashed, official report closed, case closed. But Sarah Harrison didn't accept it. The pilot's wife, 45 years old, married for 20 years. Sarah knew her husband. James hadn't had a single accident in 20 years, hadn't received a single disciplinary action. He was a perfect pilot, and one morning he woke up and lost control. Sarah didn't believe it. Sarah hired lawyers, challenged the NTSB report, rejected. She went to local police, requested a reinvestigation. Federal case, not our jurisdiction. She went to media, gave interviews. Nobody cared. Grieving widow can't accept reality. Sarah spent 6 months going door to door. Nobody listened. And finally, she found something on the internet. Dark case files. Independent team investigating unsolved cases. Sarah wrote an email, then another, every day. And one day, Sam Reeves read those emails. Sam sat across from David Harrington in the dark case files office. David was 47, team leader, former FBI. He'd hired Sam in 2022. Now David was extending a file to Sam. Northwest State basketball team crash, David said. NTSB said pilot error, but the pilot's wife doesn't believe it. Sam opened the file. Inside were photographs, wreckage photos, photos of young faces. 8 basketball players. Kevin Martinez, 21, team captain. Brandon Cole, 19, freshman. All kids. Sam's face darkened. Is the NTSB report comprehensive? Sam asked. Lasted 4 months. But, David paused. Something strange. The lead investigator worked for an aviation maintenance company 10 years ago. Could be a conflict of interest. Sam frowned. Which maintenance company? Skyline Aviation Maintenance, Richard Vaughan's company. The company that maintained this plane. Sam looked up. Are you serious? The NTSB investigator worked for the company that maintained the crashed plane 10 years ago, David said. But yes, isn't that strange? Sam closed the file. Where's the wreckage? Federal Aviation Hangar, Denver. After the NTSB investigation ended, the wreckage was stored. Legal procedure. Can you get me access? David smiled. You go get ready. I'll call the NTSB director. Old friend of mine. Sam stood up. How much time do I have? Wreckage is being destroyed in 2 weeks. Legal time limit expired. If you're going to find something, find it fast. Sam put on her jacket. 2 weeks is enough. But Sam didn't know. 2 weeks wouldn't be enough, because what she would find was darker than she ever expected. Sam flew to Denver the next day. The Federal Aviation hangar was outside the city, a massive metal structure. Inside, old plane wreckage was stored, each one a tragedy, each one a story. Sam met with the NTSB official, did an ID check, and went inside. At the end of the hangar was the wreckage of the Northwest State plane. Metal pieces had been carefully arranged to approximate the original plane shape, but of course broken into hundreds of pieces, shattered, burned. Sam approached slowly. She put on glasses, wore gloves, pulled out a notebook, and began examining. The first 3 days, Sam just looked. Didn't touch, didn't take notes, just observed, because that was Sam's method. First see, then think, touch last. She carefully examined the metal pieces, wing structure, engine remains, cockpit control panel, everything. On the 4th day, Sam began taking notes in her notebook. Engine normal wear, fire damage, post-crash, no evidence of mechanical failure. Wings, structural integrity maintained until impact, no design flaw. Cockpit controls, pilot made control inputs until the last moment, no panic, experienced response. On the 7th day, Sam reached the hydraulic system and stopped. Planes fly with hydraulic systems. Ailerons, tail, control surfaces all work with hydraulic pressure. If the hydraulic system fails, the pilot loses control, the plane becomes unmanageable. Sam examined the main valve of the hydraulic system. There was a strange wear pattern on the metal surface. It wasn't from normal use. This was long-term neglect wear. Maintenance not performed, lubrication missing, pressure tests skipped. Sam pulled out her phone, called David. "I found something," Sam said. "Hydraulic valve, abnormal wear pattern. This system hasn't received proper maintenance. What does NTSB say about this?" "Let me check their reports." Sam opened the NTSB file, found the hydraulic system section. Hydraulic system examined. Normal wear detected, not the cause of crash. Sam frowned. "But this isn't normal. This is neglect. Can you prove it?" "I need to do metallurgical analysis. I need to take the valve to the laboratory. Will NTSB allow it?" Sam thought, "I'm not going to ask permission. I'll take a small sample. Nobody will notice." "Sam." David's voice had a warning. "David, 9 people died. If this was because of neglect and someone covered it up, the public should know." Silence. Then David, "Be careful. You're dealing with federal property." "I understand," Sam said, and hung up. Sam returned to the hangar at night. Security was there, but Sam showed her NTSB ID, temporary consultant ID David had arranged. She went inside. The hangar was dark, only emergency lights on. Sam approached the wreckage with a flashlight. She took a small metal sample from the hydraulic valve, carefully, without causing too much damage, then put the sample in a special container, hid it in her bag, and left. The next morning, Sam left Denver. She took the sample to a metallurgy laboratory at Colorado State University. Professor Mitchell was Sam's old teacher, trustworthy. "What is this?" the professor asked, examining the sample. "Aircraft hydraulic system. I need wear pattern analysis." The professor put it under an electron microscope, examined it for 2 hours, then turned around, took off his glasses. "Sam, this metal hasn't received proper maintenance for more than 3 years. In normal use, this type of valve should be replaced every 6 months, or at least lubricated, tested. But this piece, this hasn't been touched for 3 years. Sam's heart raced. "Are you sure?" "Certain. Wear patterns don't lie. This system has been left alone, waiting to fail." Sam wrote in her notebook. "Could this have caused the crash?" "Absolutely. Hydraulic pressure drops slowly. Pilot might not notice. And suddenly, at a critical moment, the system completely fails. Loss of control. Crash." Sam took a deep breath. Thanks, Professor. Can I get this in writing? Of course. But Sam, which crashes this plane? Northwest State basketball team. The professor's face changed. That one? The federal report said pilot error. The federal report was wrong, Sam said. When Sam returned to the office, David and Marcus Chen were waiting. Marcus was the team's psychologist, 41 years old, calm, smart. He was talking to families, doing trauma counseling. Did you find something? David asked. Sam put the metallurgy report on the table. Hydraulic system hasn't received maintenance for 3 years. Normally maintenance is required every 6 months. This is neglect. This is the cause of the crash. David read the report. Marcus also leaned in to look. This means, Marcus said slowly, the pilot didn't make a mistake. The system failed, and the system failed because maintenance wasn't done. Exactly, Sam said. Now the question is, why wasn't maintenance done? David opened his computer. Let's look at Skyline Aviation Maintenance Company. Richard Vaughan's company. They had the maintenance contract for this plane. Sam approached. On the screen was Skyline's website. Premium Aviation Maintenance Services. 15 years experience. 200+ satisfied customers. Can we look at financial records? Sam asked. David touched the keyboard. Elena Cortez, the team's researcher, had provided access to financial documents. Skyline's last 5 years of income-expense statements appeared on the screen. Sam examined and saw something. Look at this. 3 years ago, Skyline's expenses sharply decreased. 35% reduction. What does that mean? Marcus asked. It means, Sam thought, Skyline somehow cut costs. But how? Aviation maintenance is expensive. Parts, labor, tests. How do you save 35? David answered. You cut corners. You use cheap parts. You skip tests. You reduce labor hours. You choose not to do maintenance. Sam added. You don't do the required maintenance every 6 months. You falsify records. You sign off the plane as safe. Customer doesn't notice. You save money. Until the plane crashes, Marcus said quietly. The room stayed silent. Then David spoke. We need to prove it. We need to prove that Richard Vaughan deliberately skipped maintenance. Maintenance records, Sam said. Skyline's official maintenance records. If they're fake, I can prove it. How? Because, Sam smiled, metal doesn't lie, but paper does. David obtained a federal court order, requested all of Skyline's maintenance records. Richard Vaughan sent lawyers, resisted, but finally had to provide the records. 3 days later, 15 boxes of files arrived at the Dark Case Files office. Sam, David and Elena examined the records for 48 hours. Every plane, every maintenance, every signature. Sam especially focused on the Northwest State plane records. Look, Sam said, according to official records, this plane received full maintenance 6 times in the last 3 years, every 6 months. Hydraulic system checked, lubricated, tested, every job signed. But, David said, but I examined that hydraulic valve. It hasn't been touched for 3 years. These records are fake. Elena was looking at the computer. I'm checking dates. Interesting. It says maintenance was done in February 2020. But there's another record on that date. Same technician, same day, maintaining another plane in another city. Can't be in 2 places at once. Sam took notes. Continue. August 2020. Record says maintenance was done in Denver. But that day Denver airport was closed, big storm. Nobody was working. David leaned forward. These records were falsified after the fact. Real maintenance wasn't done, but it was made to look like it was done on paper. Who signed? Sam asked. Elena checked. Carlos Mendez, chief technician, Richard Vaughan's right-hand man. Sam stood up. We need to find Carlos Mendez. Carlos Mendez was 34 years old, had 3 kids, had worked at Skyline for 8 years. Sam and David found him at his home, evening hours. When Carlos opened the door, he looked tired, exhausted. Carlos Mendez, David said. Yes. I'm David Harrington, Dark Case Files. This is Sam Reeves. We want to talk about the Northwest State crash. Carlos's face paled. I don't know anything. You do, Sam said gently. You signed the hydraulic system maintenance records, but maintenance wasn't done. You knew. Carlos closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and opened the door. Come in. Carlos took them to the living room. On the wall were photos of children, happy moments. Carlos sank onto the couch, put his head in his hands. I knew, Carlos said. His voice was breaking. 3 years ago, Vaughn told us to cut costs. He said we're losing money. Cut maintenance times in half. And you did, Sam said. No, Carlos lifted his head. I protested. I said this is dangerous. There are FAA standards. But Vaughn threatened me. You have 3 kids. Do you want them to eat? He said. David was taking notes. Continue. I thought about my family. If I lose my job, I can't pay the mortgage, can't send kids to school. I was scared, and I complied. Tears began falling from Carlos's eyes. I falsified records. We didn't do maintenance, but I signed like we did. Every time my heart broke. But what could I do? Sam spoke in a soft voice. Carlos, do you remember the Northwest State plane? Carlos nodded. I remember. When that plane came in, there was a warning in the hydraulic system. Oil level was low. I told Vaughn. I said, this needs maintenance. Vaughn said, not necessary. Just sign it. And you signed, David said. Yes, Carlos whispered. And that plane crashed. 9 people died. And I see them every night. Those kids. Kevin Martinez, Brandon Cole, all of them. Carlos completely broke down. His hands were shaking. I killed them. I signed that paper. Sam sat next to him. Carlos, you didn't kill them. Vaughn killed them. He threatened you. He cornered you. But now you can do the right thing. Carlos looked at her. How? Testify. In court. Tell the truth. Tell what Vaughn did. Tell how you falsified records. Bring justice. But I'll put my family in danger. Vaughn is a powerful man. David leaned forward. We'll protect you, Carlos. Witness protection program. We'll keep your family safe. But without your help, Vaughn goes unpunished. And other planes will crash. Other people will die. Carlos was silent for a long time. He looked at photos of his children, then slowly nodded his head. Okay, he said. I'll do it. I'll testify. Sam and David took Carlos's statement, 14 pages of detailed explanation. How Vaughn cut costs, how he threatened technicians, how they falsified records, everything. Then David went to the federal prosecutor, presented evidence, metallurgy report, hydraulic system not maintained, fake maintenance records, dates don't match. Carlos's testimony, eyewitness confession, and one more thing, the financial analysis Elena found. Elena had examined Skyline's entire 5 years of expenses and discovered this. Richard Vaughn had saved a total of $2.1 million in 3 years by cutting corners. Parts costs, labor hours, test procedures, he cut everything. Transferred the money to his own account. $2.1 million. 9 lives. That's $233,000 per person. The federal prosecutor reviewed the file, met with Sam, David, and Carlos, and finally decided, we're going to charge Richard Vaughn with 9 counts of crash murder, the prosecutor said, and we're notifying the FAA. All of Skyline's licenses will be revoked. Sam took a deep breath. Finally, justice. But there was one more thing. Sarah Harrison, the pilot's widow. Sam had to call her. Sam found Sarah at a cafe. Sarah had been fighting for 6 months, was tired, but hadn't lost hope. Sam sat across from her. We found it, Sam said. We found the truth. Sarah's eyes filled. What did you find? Sam explained. Hydraulic system, neglected maintenance, fake records, Vaughn's corner cutting, Carlos's testimony, everything. Your husband didn't make a mistake, Sam said. The system failed, and it failed because maintenance wasn't done. James tried to maintain control until the last moment. He was a hero, but he couldn't save it because the hydraulic system had completely failed. Sarah's hands were shaking. So it wasn't James's fault. No. James was a perfect pilot, and he died as a perfect pilot. Sarah began to cry, but this time not from sadness, from relief. For 6 months, everyone had blamed her husband, and now, finally, the truth was out. "What happens now?" Sarah asked. "The federal prosecutor will try Richard Vaughn," Sam said, "and I'll do one more thing for you. I'll get NTSB to change the report. The official report won't say pilot error. James's name will be cleared." Sarah held Sam's hand. "Thank you. Nobody believed me, but you believed." Sam smiled. "I believed the evidence, and the evidence said you were right." Richard Vaughn's trial lasted 8 months. Sam was the key witness. In court, in front of the jury, she held up the hydraulic valve. "This," Sam said, "is the main valve of the Northwest State Plains hydraulic system. This small metal piece regulates the hydraulic pressure that moves a plane's control surfaces. If this fails, the pilot loses control." Sam showed the valve under microscope. "The wear pattern on this valve is abnormal. In normal use, this kind of wear develops over 10–15 years, but this plane was only 8 years old. Why this wear?" the prosecutor asked. "Because maintenance wasn't done. This valve wasn't lubricated, wasn't tested, wasn't checked in the last 3 years. Skyline Aviation Maintenance chose not to do maintenance because maintenance is expensive, and Richard Vaughn wanted to cut costs." Sam turned to the jury. "Metallurgical analysis doesn't lie. This valve was faulty when the Northwest State plane crashed, and it was faulty because it was neglected. 9 people died, 8 young basketball players, 1 coach, 1 pilot. These were preventable deaths. If Skyline had done their job properly, these people would be alive today." Sam put the hydraulic valve on the table. "This is the murder weapon." Carlos Mendez also testified. In court, across from Richard Vaughn, while his family watched, he spoke. "Mr. Vaughn told us to cut maintenance times in half," Carlos said. "He told us to skip tests. He told us to falsify records. And we did, because we were afraid of losing our jobs." "What did Vaughn say to you?" the prosecutor asked. He said, "Customers won't notice. Planes don't crash. We're just saving money." But he was wrong. The plane crashed, and I think about those kids every night. Richard Vaughn, in his defense, denied everything. "I'm just a business owner. My technicians were doing their jobs. I didn't know the records were fake." But the financial records proved him a liar. Elena's analysis showed that Vaughn had transferred the saved $2.1 million to his personal account, not to Skyline Company, to himself. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Then they returned. The defendant, Richard Vaughn, on 9 counts of crash murder, guilty. Sarah Harrison was sitting in court, crying. Sam sat next to her, holding her hand. "It's over," Sam whispered. "Justice is served." Richard Vaughn got 25 years in prison. No chance of parole. Skyline Aviation Maintenance was shut down, FAA licenses revoked, and the NTSB report was officially changed. New report, crash cause, hydraulic system failure, resulting from neglected maintenance. No pilot error. Captain James Harrison attempted to maintain control until the last moment, unsuccessful due to system failure. Pilot acted with flawless professionalism. When Sarah received the report, she went to James's grave. She put the report on the grave and spoke. "Did you see, darling? Everyone knows now. You didn't make a mistake. You were a hero. You tried to save 8 kids and a coach. You couldn't, but it wasn't your fault. I always knew. And now the world knows too." 2 months after the trial, Sam was invited to an event. Northwest State University was erecting a memorial for the crash victims. 9 names, 8 basketball players, 1 coach, 1 pilot. The ceremony was large. Families came, students, media. Sam sat in the back row, quietly. David and Marcus were next to her. The president spoke. Kevin Martinez's mother spoke. Sarah Harrison spoke. And then Sarah called Sam to the stage. "There is one person," Sarah said into the microphone. "Without her, we would never have learned the truth. When everyone was blaming my husband, she looked at the evidence. When everyone closed the case, she asked questions. Sam Reeves, from the Dark Case Files team, please come to the stage." Sam was surprised. She went on stage amid applause. Sarah hugged her. "Thank you," Sarah whispered. "You gave my husband back to me. You cleared his name." Sam smiled. "I just did my job. I found the truth, because metal doesn't lie." Sam turned to the microphone. Hundreds of people were watching. Families, students, media. 9 people died, Sam said, in a preventable crash, because someone valued profit margin more than human life. But today, here, we honor them, and we promise them. Justice has been served. Richard Vaughan is in prison, and a crash like this will never happen again, because the FAA is now conducting stricter oversight. Maintenance companies are now more careful, because these 9 people didn't die in vain. Their deaths changed the system, and that is their legacy. The memorial had 9 names carved. Sam read each one. Kevin Martinez, 21, team captain, leader, friend. Brandon Cole, 19, rising star, forever young. Marcus Williams, 20, strong, brave, never forgotten. Deshaun Robinson, 22, laughter, love, light. Tyler Brooks, 19, dream chaser. Jamal Carter, 21, family man, loyal friend. Ryan Foster, 20, Fost. Hope bearer. Connor Mitchell, 22, leader, protector, hero. Coach Michael Stevens, 52, mentor, father figure, legend. Captain James Harrison, 48, hero pilot, loving husband, example of courage. Sam touched each name and silently made a promise. "I brought you justice. I didn't let you be forgotten. I told your story." After the ceremony, Sam stayed alone by the memorial. The sun was setting. From a small bag she pulled out a tool, a wrench, old, small, used. Sam placed the wrench at the base of the memorial, under Kevin Martinez's name, and whispered, "Metal doesn't lie, and I always listen." 6 months later, Sam attended a conference. Aviation Safety Summit. FAA, NTSB, airline companies, maintenance firms, everyone was there. Sam gave a presentation. The Northwest State case, proving corporate negligence through metallurgical forensics. There were 400 people in the room. Sam showed the hydraulic valve, explained the wear patterns, told how she detected the fake records. After the presentation, 12 companies wanted to talk to Sam. They wanted her to review their maintenance protocols. "Could we have problems like this too?" Sam gave them all the same answer. "Probably. But we can find them, because metal doesn't lie." That night, Sam called David from her hotel. 12 new cases in 6 months, Sam said. All aviation maintenance. Companies are scared now. The Vaughan case woke them up. David laughed. "You've gone from forensic scientist to industry auditor, Sam." "No," Sam said. "I'm still the same, just searching for truth, wherever it is." "And the Northwest State case? Closed?" Sam looked out the window. "Yes, Sarah's happy. Families are at peace. Vaughan's in prison. Kevin and the others aren't forgotten. Yes, it's closed. But I still think about it. 9 people. Preventable deaths. If someone had checked earlier, if Vaughan had been stopped earlier, maybe they'd still be alive." "You stopped Vaughan, Sam," David said gently. "You saved others." After Northwest State, the FAA audited 47 maintenance companies. 8 of them lost their licenses. How many planes were saved from crashing? How many lives were saved? Sam smiled. "I don't know, but I hope many." "You're a hero, Sam." "No," Sam said. "I just know metallurgy, and metal doesn't lie." Sam hung up. From her bag, she pulled out a small photo. Photo of the Northwest State Memorial. 9 names. Sam looked at the photo. "I listened," Sam said quietly. "Your metal spoke, and I listened. Your story was told. Your justice was served. Rest in peace." And Sam put the photo back in the bag. Tomorrow there was a new case, a new metal piece, a new story, a new truth, because Sam Reeves knew. Metal doesn't lie. You just have to listen. This was Dark Case Files. For Sam Reeves, Sarah Harrison, and everyone fighting for justice. If you know of an injustice too, don't stay silent, because sometimes even the smallest metal piece tells the biggest truth. Subscribe, share, and remember, evidence doesn't lie. You just have to look. What city did you watch from today? Write to us in the comments, and see you in the next case.